percentage increase and decrease. Now this is looking at a quicker way of increasing or decreasing an amount by a percentage. If you prefer, you're quite welcome to watch the video where we do a slower sort of method that is a little more predictable. So this method increased $500 by 12%. I could find 12% of $500 and add it on. Or I could say that 500 is 100% and I want to add on 12%, so I really want to find 112% of $500. Remember that, now again, there's two ways of approaching this. You may just prefer to do the short way of finding a percentage of an amount, where you say, I want to find 112% of 500, and by writing that, it guides you as to what your working will be. Because 112%, rewrite that as 112 over 100, because that's 112 out of 100. The percent sign looks like 100. Of always means times, and put your 500 in, and that shows you what the working is that you're going to need. So 112 divided by 100 times 500, the new price is $560. So that's one method of finding a percentage of an amount and increasing your percentage separately, and you can do this in your head when you do these. Takes a lot less working than finding 12% and then taking it away from $500. If I'd found 12%, I would have got 12% equals $60, and then I've got to do my working 500 plus $60 equals 560. But it's up to you. You may prefer to find 12% and add or subtract it. Percentage increase and decrease is great for GST. So for example, I'm quoted $2,200 for a plumbing job, and I said, well, wait a minute, does that include GST? And they said, oh no, GST is extra. And so I want to know what it'll actually cost me. GST is an extra 10% on goods and services. So I've got to increase this by 10%. Obviously, that's 100% plus 10%. I want to find 110% of 2,200. Or, if I wanted, I could use the other method that I taught you, which was always to write amount over total equals percentage over 100. Now, I'm finding a new amount. This was my total. I'm finding a new amount. So, the amount over the original total of 2,200 equals 110 over 100. To rearrange to get the amount on its own, that was divide by 2,200. So my amount will be 110 over 100 times 2,200. I'd use a calculator. 110 divided by 100 times 2,200. With GST, that's 2,420. If you preferred, you could have just said, hey, find 110% of 2,200. That means 110 on 100 times 2,200, which is exactly what I did anyway. So if you remember this method, you can avoid doing this bit of working, but this will always work. So if you're not remembering something, this always works. So you see, it's always worthwhile double checking when a tradie quotes you something. Does that include GST? Because sometimes they don't mention the GST bit and you have to add it on. A $250 backpack is listed as 15% off. Find the new discounted price. This is a percentage reduction. You could find 15% of 250 and take it away. Or you could say, well, I've got 100%, I need to take away 15%. That means I'm finding 85%. 85% of $250. Rewrite the percentage over 100. All this times 250. 85 divided by 100 times 250. The new price. Now it says 212.5, but this is money, so money has to go to 2 decimal places, so that means you put a 0 there because that's 50 cents. So that is an overview of percentage increase and decrease. If you don't like these methods, watch the other video where I'll do them separately, where I'm much more prescriptive and give you really careful steps about what to do.